Okay, so I explained about this business model canvas. I hope you've got what this is. And still, if some confusion, you can ask me later. Okay. And also try to go to this website and try to read about like why people use or businesses or the designers or the product managers they use this business model canvas. So learn about that and also try to master and learn what is this UCDC. Okay, that is user centered design canvas. So try to master both of these. And also I explained about the product vision. So this was the basic template. So when working on any product you should create the product vision also. And this was one example that I showed you for the Design Academy. And I have already shown this UX process many a times, right? So basically, whenever you're starting something, first is basically you should understand the challenge, then do the research, and once the research is done, you should present that and then analyze your finding, and then later on move to the ideation phase. And once the idea is selected, or once you have the idea, you basically move on to designing and then the prototyping and then the testing. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the research part. So we'll try to understand research. Okay, I've already like explained this once, but I'll try to explain in detail. Okay, now in this research we do a lot of different things: qualitative, quantitative, then alignment workshops with the business, trying to define the business vision, then product goals, and overall trying to understand what is the who are the users, right? And we do a lot of this, use different methods like quantitative and qualitative methods to find this. So now let's understand this. So whenever doing the research, what we should do is like we should try to find something, or we basically do the research to find something. So what are those? We basically try to get answers to many questions, and these are like few of the answers. Okay, like first is basically who are we designing for? Like who are the users? Then also like what are my users trying to accomplish? Like fine, they would be using a product, but what is the ultimate goal, what is the objective, why they would be using a product, and so on. So that is what we try to understand doing the research, when doing the research, right? And how do my users think about what they are trying to accomplish? So yes, so we understand that okay, so we are creating the product to help the users accomplish this, but what is their take on that? Okay, about the product and the service. So also need to understand that as a designer. So what kind of experience do my users find appealing and rewarding? So when doing the research we should try to find out the answer about like what excites them and also what frustrates them, right? Similarly, how should my product behave? So every user has some expectation from the product. So you should understand what is the expectation and then create the product later on. Okay. What form should my product take? For example, like if you're working on a new product, and if during the research if you see that oh we like using the product on the go, then instead of creating a web app it's better to create a mobile app, right? So that's why you need to understand so what form. Okay, whether it should be a web app, it should be a mobile app, or something else. So that really helps. Basically you get to know about this after the research or during the research. How will users interact with my product? So how would they interact, how many hours they would interact? Okay, how can my products function be most effectively organized? Fine, so basically we try to understand from the user like okay, so we are building this, what is your expectation, and basis that after involving them in the process we are able to effectively organize the content, the information, and other things. And how can my product put an understandable, appealing, and controllable face on technology? Right now, technology can be frightening for some of the people, some of the users. So, how can you provide a good experience, okay, appealing experience or like good experience to the users who are non-techie? So, how can you do that? By understanding the users, understanding their expertise in technology, and then creating the product. So that's why research plays an important role here also. How will my product introduce itself to first-time users? Okay, so depending upon who the users are, this research really helps you define the onboarding experience. Fine. Similarly, few others. So how can my product deal with problems that users encounters? Every problem is created to either like solve some problem or like fulfill some need. Basically, you will understand how to do that only after doing the research. And how will my product help in frequent and inexperienced users understand how to accomplish their goals? When designing and researching, the research also helps to understand like okay, if someone is not experienced, then how to handle that. Basically create a good experience and help them achieve their goals. Similarly, how can my product provide sufficient depth and power to expert users? Now, the same product could be used by both the expert and the inexperienced users, right? So, how to provide both of them the best experience? So that also we try to understand. Okay, so basically meeting the expectation of inexperienced users as well as the experienced users. So this is how it helps, and whenever doing the research you should always try to get the answers of these questions. I already talked about qualitative research, quantitative research, so I'll not go deep in that into this. So a qualitative is basically where you try to validate your assumptions, okay? And we use different kind of methods like interview, focus groups, ethnography, and literature. I already talked about this, okay? So using this kind of research, what we do is like we start with the kickoff meeting. Okay, so whenever you're working, like once you have the BMC or like before BMC also, like what you do is like you start this kickoff meeting with your boss or your product owner or the founder of the company, and then you try to understand or get the answers to a lot of different questions. Okay, so what is the product? Who will or does use it? What do your users needs most? Which customers and users are the most important to the business? What challenge do the design team and the business face moving forward? Who do you see as your biggest competitors? Why? What internal and external literature should we look to familiarize ourselves with the product and our business and technical domain? So here what we are doing whenever we are initiating or starting on working on any of the product, we try to align with the different stakeholders. Okay, and in this meeting we try to get the answers to a lot of different questions, and these are some of the questions like what are we building, whom are we building for, okay, what is the problem that we are solving, okay, and also do we have any existing research done for this? If yes, where is the data? Okay, we try to get as much information as possible in this kind of alignment or the kickoff meeting. Fine. So this is what we do in the at the beginning. And once we have are done with this kickoff meeting, we straight away get into doing the secondary research. That is basically literature review. Okay. So this is also called as secondary research. In this, what we do, we try to read or go through a lot of different literatures, be it going online and checking different websites, blogs, reading white papers, or any other kind of like documentary or any research document. So a lot of different information, we try to get information and read about it from different sources. Fine. So these could be like internal documents like product marketing plans, brand strategy, market research studies, like if the research has already been done by the company internally, so we try to understand that. And also like some of the research surveys. Fine. Competitive advantage, usability studies, and these could be like secondary and the primary also. Okay, so secondary like user surveys, if survey has been done by somebody else, so we'd also try to use that in our research. That would be what, that would be secondary. If we are the one like who had conducted in the past like some surveys, so then that would be the primary. So we try to understand and read these internal documents, and also parallelly go through a lot of these industry reports. Okay, and also we do a lot of research, or basically search online, go read blogs, website, and xyz. So we do a lot of different things, and that is basically literature review. And then after that we do what, we also do comparative audits, comparative analysis. Okay, and if we have an existing product or a prototype, we try to validate that or check that, and we basically try to see like whether the prototype is good or not, analyzing that. Okay, so that's what we do. And after that what we do is like we straight away get to the stakeholder interviews. So one product, though it is generally designed for the end users, but there could be like different stakeholders. So first is understanding who are the different stakeholders, and then going and meeting them, and then trying to understand from them like what is the expectation, why are they building. Again, the same question that we asked in the kickoff meeting, we try to ask the same kind of questions to this stakeholders. Okay, we'll see like, and we'll understand more about this. So, and also we sometimes what we do is like if it's a complex domain, and even after browsing online we are not able to understand like what should be the direction, we try to take interviews or like involve the subject matter experts. Okay, subject matter expert is the next one. So this is a subject matter expert. So basically we try to connect with the expert. Like if suppose you are creating a product for a medical industry, okay, medical domain, so that in that case you might not be an expert in medical, right? So what you do is like you try to connect with the experts like the doctors, physicians, and so on, and then try to get detailed or deep knowledge about that domain from them, and get consultant or basically consult them for different experiences and processes and so on. So that is basically subject matter experts. Stakeholder, I've already talked about it. So basically we try to check with all the stakeholder, like whosoever is involved in the process or the product design, about everything, like what is, for example, the founder. We try to understand from them like who's the user, why you're building, what is the product vision, and so on. And from the technical people, we would try to understand like if there are any technical constraints. And from the budget, we sometimes go and try to check with them like, okay, what is the budget for this particular product, and so on, right? So all of these you won't be doing, but sometimes you need to work depending upon like what is your experience and how much is your involvement with the product owner. So you also try to help, like in case like, okay, so how many resources would you need to design the solution, how many researchers, how many testers, fine, or how many copy guys or UI people. So sometimes budgeting also, like we'll have to like get involved with the product owners. And last but not the least is basically what we do is like we try to do the customer interviews. So that is basically the end users interview. We interview users, we try to get answers to a lot of questions, we have discussion with them, and then we try to check with them like what is their expectation and how they're currently solving, if they're solving their problem, and also try to understand their needs and so on. Okay, so what is their expectation from the product? So this is what we do in this qualitative research. Fine. So user interviews I talked about. So there are like a lot of different things. One is user interviews we do. The other is basically we try to observe them. Okay. It could be ethnography study where we could go and spend time with them and see like how they are spending their time, and then accordingly that gives us a lot of learning, and basis that we actually go and design the product. Okay. Whenever interviewing these users, we try to frame questions in different ways, right? Some could be like goal oriented, some could be like system oriented. So let's see what are the goal oriented. Goal oriented is basically, one is goals, what makes a good day and a bad day. So what is that they, if they're using any existing product, similar kind of product, so what is that they like, what are those features or functions or experiences that they don't like. And similarly, checking the users and figuring out like and understanding like, okay, what makes a good day, in the sense like what does the a good day look like, and also what does a bad day look like. So something like that. An opportunity is basically what activities currently waste their time. Okay, they are solving their current problem using something, so what is that, and which part of that process is taking more time. Okay, that could be the opportunity for the new business. Similarly, priorities, there might be a lot of different needs, but what is the one that needs immediate attention? So this really helps by asking the right questions. And then information is basically what are the different set of information that they would need to solve that problem, so or making decisions. So there are a lot of different kind of questions that we ask, so we'll see like what are those later. And also system oriented is basically about the systems. Okay, and this is sometimes we generally don't ask them directly, but indirectly we try to ask. So what are the most common things they do with the product? Okay, and this is after the research we basically try to analyze and see, and what parts of the product do they use most, preference, what are their favorite aspects of the product, how do they work around problems, and what shortcuts do they employ. And this we are able to find only after having meeting with them, having interview with them, and also by observing them. Okay, so this is the system oriented question that we ask after the interview or the observation. And some are like workflow oriented questions, that is basically sometimes we ask after the research, and then what did they do when they first came in today, what did they do after that. So basically understanding the process of the user. Okay, so once they started using, what is the process, and how many hours did they use the product for, and so on. So everything about that, and that is after the research. Okay, aptitude is basically what aspires them and what are the different things that they don't prefer, and the motivation is basically what keeps them excited or motivated. Whenever doing this research, you should always keep these things in mind. So basically whenever you're doing the
Sir?
research, assume.
Sir?
Yeah.
Can you just explain the last point on the last page?
Motivation, what do you enjoy most about your job or lifestyle, what do you always tackle first. So basically this is from the user point of view. So whenever you are after the research, whenever you are trying to see, analyze the result, you should ask these questions, right? So basically what did you enjoy most about your job, this is about the user, like, so basically what did the user enjoy the most. Okay, if
No,
he's using,
basically my point is how we are going to frame the question around our product, like in terms of motivation. Because in general, if I say, if we are selling something, if we are offering any services, so the user some or the other way might be motivated when they find it quite cheap. One thing can be the economical constraint, right?
yeah,
But what
it could.
else? How can we try to seek this? What else can motivate them?
Okay, so it would be the experience part, right? So if, for example, your app is a payment app, and if
Okay.
they're able to make the payment very in just 2 clicks or 3 clicks or 2 or 3 taps, so
Okay.
that is basically something that motivates them. That is basically that keeps them happy, right?
Okay.
Or something like that. So basically, what is that motivates? So basically, instant payment, that could be one thing, or instant gratification after like using an experience. Okay, so those kind of questions that we generally either ask them. Again, it could be like framed from their point of view. Okay, after the interview and observation, like when you're back in the studio or the at work, or it could be like also you can ask similar kind of questions when you're conducting the interview. And they're like different things that you should always keep in mind. And these are basically assume the role of an apprentice, not an expert. So whenever you're there, don't try to behave as you already know everything. Yes, you already know everything, but try to keep everything very open and try to get maximum information and knowledge from them. Okay, so knowledge about or information about like why they use the product, and what frustrates them, what motivates them, and so on. So basically try to get maximum information from them. And whenever asking questions, framing questions, always focus on the goals and never focus on the task. Okay, tasks are for the developers or for the designers later on, like when they're actually creating the solution. Okay, tasks are for later stage. Whenever you're there, you should understand from them why are you using the product, or why do you use the product, and so on. And also, like whenever you're asking questions, always keep your questions open-ended. Don't have like or ask questions which has like close-ended answers. Fine. Open-ended is basically keeping it like, okay, so how do you use it? Instead of saying like, do you use it for 1 hour, 2 hour, or 3 hour? Or don't be specific, be open. Avoid making the user a designer. Never ask user that, okay, so what do you think? Like, should I place this button on the main screen or on the second screen? Don't ask him. Just ask his expectation from the product, and also ask why he uses the product. And after that, you are the one, like you are an expert in design, right? So you should be creating the other things, right? Like the design and layout and all. So avoid discussing technology. Like you should never discuss about design. Similarly, you should never discuss about technology. Fine. And always try to encourage them to tell a story. Okay, when they tell a story or basically explain their requirement and other thing in the form of story, so they're able to like tell a lot of different things. Okay, when you basically try to be specific, then you only get specific answers. So basically always have open discussion with them, and then try to get lot of information from them as, as a as answers. Ask for a show and tell. So whenever they say like, oh, I got stuck there, I was not able to like do this thing and so on, or this is my problem. So always tell them like, okay, where did you get stuck? What was the problem? Can you show me, instead of just talking. And avoid leading questions. Don't lead them to the answers. Keep it always open. Okay, these are like few important points, and as a researcher you should always remember these. I already talked about this quantitative also, wherein like all the results are in the form of numbers. Okay, we use surveys, we do a lot of different experimentation, that is A/B testing and so on. And these are basically done when you already have a product. An observation is also like sometimes we do that by changing few variables. We'll get deep into that. Survey is important. So survey, I'll talk about it here. Earlier we talked about two things, like qualitative and the quantitative. Now let's look at these research methods from two new viewpoint, and that is basically the secondary research and the primary research. Secondary research is also called as the desk research. In this, what happens is we basically rely on the existing data that's already there in the market. Okay, so what is secondary data or secondary research? Secondary research involves the summary, collation, and or synthesis of existing research. So all the information that's already there in different forms, so we basically rely on that, we read that, and then basis that we analyze. Okay, and so basically market research is conducted to identify gaps in the market and business opportunities. So basically we use the secondary research to see and validate our assumptions, and also see like what is the gap, and if this is a real problem, basically we validate it our assumptions and so on. So how does it help? It helps companies to analyze the external market environment. So basically, when doing the secondary research, we are able to understand like what's happening in the market. If there are any existing research done around that, or any existing products available in the market, we are able to understand about those things. It helps to identify new opportunities and pave the way for primary research. So it really sets the foundation for your next steps. Okay. After this secondary research, you are able to understand that whether you should continue with the next step and really work on the product or not. So it really helps, and it know what and where to look for the data to compare, and also it really helps you to find out the right data. Okay, so there you could get data from different resources, and then you could, after doing the reading and all those, you can really figure out like, okay, so this is the right data, and then use the data for the next steps. So it really helps in all those things. And these are the different methods that we use to collect data from desk research. So basically we go online and check data on websites, on blogs, on newspapers, and so on. So online data is important. That's what we read and consume in this process. And then we also read a lot of books, newspapers, governmental reports, then white papers and other published reports, okay, by research companies and so on. Similarly, publications specific to relevant industry. If there is something that's specific to that particular industry for which you are creating the product, then yes, we also try and read those. And also we try to analyze the existing data that's there within the company, inside the company. Okay, so we read all those things also. And also we try and see if there are any existing documentary or like videos and other information. These are like some of them. There could be like many other methods. Okay, any data that you're getting from secondary resource, the or basically you are not the one who did the research. Okay, that is basically called as the secondary research. So this really helps. And whenever conducting this secondary research, these are few questions that you should always ask. So what is the purpose? Why am I doing the research? Why, and what is I'm looking for? Okay, so have that core thing defined. And what is my research method? So basically, what should I do? Should I read only white paper, or white paper plus news, or white paper plus news plus government literature, or literature by the government agencies plus internal data? So you should define like, okay, so what should be the different resources or sources for this research, and what are my expected research outcomes? So it's fine, I'll use this for different methods, but what should be the outcome, or what should be the format of the outcome? So analyzing that and how that outcome would be presented, and also who collected the data to be analyzed. Always whenever reading or collecting these resources or the information from secondary research, always try to validate that, or basically check the authenticity of the information. Okay, and also check the time when that research was done or that article was published. Okay, so data redundancy is another factor that must be considered. Is the data consistent with other data available from other sources? So whenever doing this research, we might get different numbers from different resources or different sources. So always try to check whether the data is valid or not. Okay, and also at the end, validate, or basically what type of data was collected. Okay, so whether it was quantitative, qualitative, and in which form. So analyze that, and how was the data collected. So this is basically data collected by the third people. Okay, so what type of data was collected? If you are analyzing a data that was published by company X, then who is that company? Okay, check the background. If is that a valid or a real company, or is done or published by any random individual. So focus on the source of the data. Okay, and what are the advantages? It's easily accessible. Anytime you can go online and get this information. It's cost effective, and it's not time consuming. So you can get this data in like 1 day, 2 day, depending upon like how much data you want. And it helps researcher to identify knowledge gaps. It's quick. You can get this data anytime, any day, and it can really help you, clear doubts if you have any. And it's useful for mapping out the scope of the research. So once you see that yes, there is a gap, there is a scope of the next steps, or basically scope, and you should be working on this app. So then what you do is like you can use this for your next steps. So but what are the disadvantages? Questionable data. Sometimes it's very difficult to determine the authenticity of the data, because it's an online space and anyone can go online and publish data. So that's why like whenever collecting data, you should check the authenticity and the source of the data. And it's very generalized, right? Unspecific in nature and may not directly cater to the needs of the researcher. You might have certain needs, but the researcher or the research document or the white paper might be for something else, right? Some other topic. So that's why it's generalized and it's common data. This data is not just not unique to you. It's a common data and everybody has access to that data. That's a disadvantage. And also sometimes the risk of outdated research material could also be there. So these are like the few advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so let me go back to this. Fine. So there are different kind of surveys. I have already, I think, like explained in one of the sessions. So basically, whenever you're writing this survey or creating this survey questions and all, so you should have different kind of questions, and these are the basically different type of questions. One, it could be like open-ended, wherein you can just ask a question and let them fill in the answer, and sometimes it could be like closed-ended questions. So most of the time what we do is like we try to ask closed-ended questions, like 60%, 70% are mostly closed-ended, because we generally try to be specific when asking the answers or questions. So let's see like what are the different closed-ended questions that we generally ask. So one is basically nominal questions, where the answers is as basically option A and B. So that is nominal. Likert scale card is basically we give a scale, okay, and the scale is basically in the form of text. And rating is basically again a scale, but it's in the form of numbers. And yes and no is very straightforward. Like there's a question and the answer is in the form of yes or no. So we'll see this, okay? So that was about the survey. And there's another thing that we also do when conducting this secondary research or desk research, and that is basically the competitive analysis. So here what we do is like we try to analyze first who are the competitors. Okay, so if you're working on a product and that product is from vertical A, okay, or of vertical A, we try to see like who are the other players in that vertical, and then try to analyze everything. So basically, we try to analyze two things primarily. One is the competitive. So basically, who are the competitors and how they are doing? What are the different products that they have? And then when we are able to understand that what are the products that they have, we also try to do comparative analysis. So comparative analysis is basically who are the competitors and what they're doing and what are the products that they have. And then comparative is basically we actually try to map the features of the product. Comparative analysis is what? The process of evaluating competitors, companies, product, and their marketing strategies. To make analysis useful, it is important to pick right competitors. So whenever you are analyzing this, you should always try to pick the right competitors and know which aspects of the competitor's business are worth analyzing. So the competitors might be having like 10 different businesses, right? But when you are doing the competitive analysis, you should only focus on that area which is specific or which is related to your product. Similarly, know what and where to look for the data to compare. So if you're looking for something like the features and the benefits of your product, then you should know like, okay, where should you go and pick those features or look for those features and the benefits, right? And how does this comparative analysis help? So it basically helps in getting answers to a lot of different questions. That is basically what opportunity exists. Okay, what are the gaps? How do we fill the gaps? Okay, and what are the market trends? What features should we focus on? What benefits do we promote? How does our audience feel? What is our audience being let down? Or where is our audience being let down? How can we stand apart from our competitors? So these are the different things, like when you go and do this comparison, so you basically are able to figure out what is the gap in the market. Okay, and also you are able to understand what you should bring in the market and how you can leverage that, or basically how you also try to understand like, okay, if the customers or the users of product A or the company A is not happy, and these are the 5 reasons why they're not happy, then you can analyze that, and then you can take this into consideration when creating your own solution. So this really helps. Fine. And whenever you're doing this competitive analysis, try to focus on these things. So what are the similarities of your product or the product that you want to bring with the products of the competitors? What are the differences? What are the strengths of your company as well as the products and the weakness? And what is that you are going to offer to the users? Okay. And also when doing this, and try to understand the audience preferences or the customers or the user preferences. Okay, compare the features, compare the benefits, compare the value that your product will give to the users. Okay, and also try to see like, okay, so if what is the price point at which the competitors are selling the product? Okay, and what are the differentiators also, and what is the market position? So basically this really helps you understand the whole market and the competitors. Okay, and yes, the most important thing is basically what is the gap and how you can fill that gap. So there are different templates. If you'll go online, you can find a lot of these templates. So this is one of the template. So here what we're doing is whenever we are creating, whenever we create this kind of template or competitive analysis, so we try to first understand like who's the company, what is the company, okay, how many employees do they have, when was this founded, or basically how many customers do they have. We also try to understand like what are the strengths and the weakness. So that this has been categorized in different groups. So basically one is company specific, the other is basically the customer and the messages, and then the product, and then the positioning. So one is company, the other is the customer, the third is about the product itself, and then the market. That is basically how the product has been positioned in the market. Okay, so we try to map everything so we can add extra fields and like add more details in this template. So let's see, I have like more. So this is another one wherein like you can again specify or categorize that into like different categories. So company, product, customers, and marketing. Again, those four major categories. But again, here what they're doing is like you can add different information like year founded, founders, key people, employees, offices, money raised, funding status, investors, revenue, customers, year-on-year customer growth, annual revenue, year-on-year revenue growth. So a lot of different things. Similarly to the products, let me show you this. So again, if you're working on product A, then you might have like 3 competitors, 5 competitors. So depending upon like who is your close competitor, you can select like 3, 4, 5 depending upon your product. Okay, so this is basically everything about the company, and then here you can add about the product. Okay, it could be feature 1, feature 2, feature 5, and also other specifics about the product. That's basically the pricing. Okay, and what are the different plans that you have, if they're offering any discounts, what are those, if they're offering any free trials. If competitor 1 is offering free trial for 15 days, this could be like 30 days, and if this is like 20 days. So then in your case, if you want to have that competitive advantage, how would you like place your product? Okay, so whether like 25 days, 30 days, 45 days. So it really helps you understand what's happening in the market and then decide. Okay, and what is the technology also. Similarly about the customers, how many customers do they have, and basically what are the testimonials, positive ones, negative ones, and where are they from. Okay, and if they are like marketing and using different social media, all and everything about the customers, or where these customers can be found. And then last but not least is basically the marketing. So SEO marketing, social media marketing, advertising marketing, partnership, content, customer acquisition, customer service. So everything about marketing. So basically how the company is marketing their existing product or their product. Okay, so generally designers don't do a deep comparative analysis. These are mostly done by the product guys, and after that it's shared with the designers. But it's always good to understand this. So as a designer, you would mostly be focusing on the product and the customers. So that was secondary research. Okay, now next is a primary research. We create survey. Okay, so this is one of the survey that I had created for my academy. I'll show you that. Okay, this was one that I conducted. So this is what you will also have to do when you will be working on your product. So basically this really helps you understand what's there in the mind of the customers or the users. Okay, like in this case of Design Academy, I created this. So basically here what I did, I gave a small introduction about like what the product is all about and for what I'm conducting this survey. So here what I've written is like, hi, I'm Manpreet Kalsi and I'm working on a project, and this is basically designing a website for a Design Academy. I have a few questions and you can answer the question as per your understanding. Note that there is no right or wrong answers. Your answer will help me get a good understanding of how students think, which in turn will help me define the course and the future workshop. So basically it really helps you get the deep insight what the end users or the customers are thinking about your product and services, and it really helps you decide on what should be done next. So you can frame according to your own product. In case of academy, I've asked like who you are, like, okay, so student, just started working, or working professional, and so on. Similarly, what is the level of your interest in design? Just I'm trying to be specific to what I want. Okay, so this is very close ended. So basically I've asking them like level of interest, and there are other questions similar to like this first question to basically everything's very specific to design, okay, and the academy. Pursue your career in design. What's your preferred mode of learning? When did you last join an institute or taken an online course? XYZ. How do you select a course? So these were like all what? Close-ended questions. Now this is open-ended questions. Like how do you select a course on an institute? What is your process? How was your experience? When learning, what has worked well for you? Do you shop courses online, like these things? And when was the last time you bought an online? I've written a lot of these questions. Generally we should have like 8 to 10 questions, okay? And you should also, like, whenever starting any work on any product, you should first create a survey and try to get the insights from of the users, or basically get whatever is there in the mind of the users through this surveys. And once you have this survey, so basically it really helps you validate your assumptions, right? Because every time when we start based on some assumptions and hypotheses, so this really helps. This is basically helps in validating that. So after this, basis your result, or basis the result that you get, you can decide the next steps. So like in this case, so for example, I got these responses like, would you like to pursue your career in design? So 100% people said that yes, they are interested in pursuing the career. And then what's your preferred mode? Everybody said, most of them said mix of both online and offline, but majority of them also said that online is also okay. So here the combination of the third and the first, so basically online wins, right? So what do you think? Is rupees 1000 a reasonable price for 16 to 20 hours boot camp course that's being taught by a professional? 21 people, 21 responses, 81 people said yes, reasonable price. Suppose I come with an online course in design and related things, would you be willing to pay a minimal amount to pursue? Everybody said yes. So this really helps in understanding what's there in the mind and whether people would be, or the student would be paying the money. And after seeing the result, or after seeing the response, so you can then take the next step. And if you are okay, and if you think that your assumptions are good, okay, then you can move on, and then you can go on and conduct the interviews. Fine. In this case, after my survey, I wrote a small script for the interview, and I'll show you like what I had written in the script. So I'll share this sample with you. You can use this as a reference point whenever you are working on any product. So here, so always whenever writing a script, first introduce yourself, okay, and then introduce the product that you're working on, and then try to update about important things. Like if you're recording, you should mention that yes, you would be recording this interview. Always tell them like, okay, so there is no right or wrong answer, like it's fine, we'll have like casual discussion, and the objective is to basically understand what they want, or what is the expectation from the product, and so on. Fine. And then whenever creating or writing questions, so always first try to get the introduction of the user, okay? So like these questions, like give me a small introduction about yourself, what does your typical day look like, get into the main one. So basically don't start straight away with the main question, like okay, so try to like start casually and start discussing about the product. So what are some of the apps and websites you use regularly? What do you understand about design? How did you get into design? How serious are you about starting a design? And now whenever talking and having this discussion, so sometimes what will happen is, like, suppose you have asked this question, right? So he might answer this and also answer like few other questions. So don't repeat and ask this same question again, okay? You should then skip it. And basis the conversation, you don't need to basically follow the sequence. You can ask questions depending upon the conversation you are having with the participant. Okay, so there are like a lot of different questions. So you should ask these questions, and once you are done with asking all the questions, you can then close it. And whenever you're closing, close it nicely. Thank him, okay, and tell him that yes, your valuable feedback will really help in building the right product. And also, like, if there is a need, can you like basically contact them? You have for them as a gift. So do give them the gift and thank them again, and so on. So basically, always whenever conducting interview, you should first draft the script, and in the script you should always first introduce yourself, and then explain why you are conducting this interview, what is the objective, what is that you're trying to get from this interview, and then slowly and gradually start with the questions. and at the end, always thank them. Okay, so along with that, what we also do is we try to do a SWOT analysis of the company or the product. Okay, so SWOT analysis is basically what? SWOT analysis is a framework that we use to understand what are the strengths, what are the weakness of the company, and also we try to understand like what is the opportunity that's there in the market and what are the available threats in the form of competitors. Okay, so we try to do this analysis, and so again, like it's mentioned here, like the internal is basically what? Internal is strength and weakness of the company and also the product that you're building, and also external is what? The opportunities that they're in the market and the threats. So let's see what's mentioned here. So strengths are what? Things your company does well. Fine. Qualities that separate you from your competitors. Internal resources such as skilled, knowledgeable staff. Tangible assets such as intellectual property, capital, proprietary technologies, etc. And weakness is what? Things your company lacks, things your competitors do better than you. Resource limitation and unclear, unique selling proposition. Okay, so these are strengths and weakness. And opportunities could be like what? Undeserved markets for specific product. Okay, so if there is a gap and there is no product in the market, then that is basically the opportunity. Fine. And few competitors in your area, emerging need for your product or services, and press media coverage of your company. Fine. So this could be like the opportunities in the market or gaps that ultimately could be the opportunities for the company, right? And threats is what? Emerging competitors, changing regulatory environment, negative press media coverage, changing customer attitudes toward your company. Okay, so we try to create this SWOT analysis, and there are a lot of different templates, so I'll share the template with you, and then you can use that to create this SWOT analysis. And fine, so we'll stay till here. We'll just do this much today, and you should go through these. You should try and understand this comparative analysis framework. That's what you should do as a homework. And the second is you should learn how to write surveys, okay, or frame surveys and create these forms. Also, you should learn how to write script for interview. So I'll share all these three with you all, and then you can take these references and learn how to write this, and also this SWOT analysis. Fine.
So when to do SWOT analysis?
So you can do when you're beginning the work on the product. So before the work, before you start, you can do that. Okay. So SWOT analysis can be done for the company to understand like what are the current strengths of the company as well as weakness, and also if there are any threats. Fine. And also if you have an existing product, for the product also you can do this SWOT analysis.